Chair declares the House in recess, subject to the call of the chair.
This my shit. All the girls stomp your feet like this, 'cause there ain't no holler back girl.
We've been telling you for a long time that Jim Jordan is our boy. We picked Jim Jordan back in January when there was the initial speaker row with Kevin McCarthy having to go 18 rounds with the votes. And we have had a massive breakthrough this morning. But we also saw something really terrifying over the weekend. You saw how Washington, D.C. actually works. So let me begin by stating this. And I said this on Twitter. ALX, grab the tweet. There is not a single Republican who is against Jim Jordan being speaker. Jim Jordan has done excellent work. Now, we detailed that in a monster show showing how Jim Jordan has been on the right, on the side of the Tea Party, on the side of the Freedom Caucus, of which he was a founding member, on the correct side of questioning Hillary Clinton over Benghazi, and on the correct side, of course, of investigating Joe Biden. If Jim Jordan was in charge of Congress 20 years ago, when he got to Congress, he's been in Congress for, I think, over a decade, well, we would have a very different country. Unfortunately, we've been betrayed. But Jim Jordan has been on the right side of the base, and we respect him for that. He's been a champion, he's been a fighter, and he's been somebody who does the unpopular thing, but the right thing, always. Now, that leads to different results, right? Sometimes he gets backstabbed like the rest of us. But Jim Jordan is somebody who has great credit and great moxie with the Republican base. Do you love Jim Jordan? I love Jim Jordan. Every single poll I see is like, every Republican's like, yeah, Jim Jordan, great. Speaker right now. Let's go. Actually, it's more than just like apathy of like, I think Jim Jordan's great. It's like, hoorah. People want Jim Jordan. Do you want Jim Jordan? I want Jim Jordan. We as a movement, we as Republicans, know Jim Jordan is the right man. Okay? And you know that I had even warmed up to Kevin McCarthy over the course of the last couple of weeks. I understand what Matt Gaetz did. I really want to have Matt Gaetz on the show to really like explain where he's at. And we have a clip from Matt Gaetz here in a second. But I'll tell you this. If the result is a speaker Jim Jordan, then this is a great result. So the point is, if every Republican voter would be in favor of Jim Jordan or has no problem with Jim Jordan, and the vast majority of Republican voters are thrilled about Jim Jordan, then why are there like 50 holdouts in a Republican Congress that are bitterly opposed to it? That don't make no sense. How are there so many Republican congressmen opposed to what their voters want? Because I haven't heard a single voter, actual grassroots Republican donor, door knocker, say, oh no, Jim Jordan, he betrayed us. No, it doesn't exist. Jim Jordan has super high love from the base, from the grassroots, and from your average Republican. So what's wrong with these people? There are a couple of Republicans, the number's been thrown around, 10, 50. People were saying 50, now it's down to about 10. And if it's down to 10, well, then that means Jim Jordan's going to be speaker because none of these moderates will have the spine to actually stand up to him. But we have these news articles from this weekend. A guy named Mike Rogers from Alabama, who's in charge of the, Mike Rogers, in charge of the National, in charge of the Armed Services Committee. Forgive me, House Armed Services Committee. And he was saying, I would rather work with Democrats to elect a speaker. This guy, pop him up. Mike Rogers said, I would rather work with Democrats to elect a speaker than to have Jim Jordan as Speaker of the House. Now, what the hell is happening there? This is what I'm saying is a very, very dangerous moment here. So this is Mike Rogers of Alabama. Now, he comes from a crimson, blood-red district in Alabama. This guy, who I can't get it out of my head, is like a Lego man. Like has Lego hair. Lego man hair. I'll show you. We can pull up the meme. This man was saying, I would rather have Democrats, and he said this on the record, come and tell us what they would give us to vote for Hakeem Jeffries for Speaker. Now, what does that mean? Hakeem Jeffries is a cutout for Nancy Pelosi. That means that Republicans would rather vote, some Republicans would rather have Nancy Pelosi, Republicans, as Speaker of the House than Jim Jordan. So that's a very dangerous game. What does that mean? that means that these people are compromised. That means that these people are bought and sold, that they despise you, that they despise the electorate, the people who put them in office. This shows a massive schism inside of the party. This shows a massive civil war. This shows the problem. This rips the bark off the tree to show you the rot on the inside, the termites, the parasites who have been destroying our body politic, our movement. This man, and you'll never be able to take back these comments, this man said he would like to work with Democrats to elect a speaker. This person said, I would rather have Nancy Pelosi as Speaker of the House. When in the year 2022, Republicans coalesced and said Nancy Pelosi will not be Speaker of the House. So then, you want to talk about threats to democracy, this man is openly defying the Republican base. I don't care if you're ultra MAGA. I don't care if you're anti-Trump. I don't care if you're a fiscal conservative or an economic conservative. I don't care if you're team George W. Bush, or if you're team Ronald Reagan, or if you're team Mitt Romney, or if you're team Donald Trump. Okay? You all know where I stand on this stuff. You don't want Nancy Pelosi as Speaker of the House. If you do want Nancy Pelosi as Speaker of the House, then you are a Democrat masquerading as a Republican, and you are lying to your voters. Shame upon you. A pox upon your entire house. And this shows a disturbing and absolutely repulsive trend that, I mean, I got like hundreds of thousands of retweets going hard at Mike Rogers this weekend because I just went blistering against this guy. Because it reminded me, it peeled the scab off a very hurtful moment in my life where we had been betrayed. Time and time and time again, people like Mike Rogers, with the fake plastic hair and the fake plastic soul, go to Washington, D.C. to betray us. It's always us who get schlonged in the end. Always the Republican Party. Democrats get every goodie on their wish list every time, even when they don't deserve it. Democrats get what they want. Even when they don't have the majorities, even when they're in the minority, Democrats get what they want. Somehow they inexplicably blocked Donald Trump's wall from being built. How? They had no power. We had unified control of government. We could have literally done anything we wanted. We could have investigated Joe Biden. We could have put Hillary Clinton in jail. We could have done it. There was nothing stopping us from putting Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, Hillary Clinton in prison. Nothing stopping us. Of course, do the investigations. Find their criminality. Lock them up. But we couldn't get pittance, literally pennies, for Donald Trump's wall, even though it was promised to us. I continue to bring up these videos because I have a long memory. It is my job here. And you deserve to be reminded of people like Mike Rogers and how they've lied to you. Ladies and gentlemen, Paul Ryan, the month after Donald Trump was sworn in as president, released this video targeting you, the Republican voter base, making a promise to you. Ask yourself as you watch this, did this promise come true?
I had the opportunity to travel down to Texas, to go to the Rio Grande Valley and spend time with our Border Patrol. When you see what they're up against, it really gives you even greater respect for what they do. They clearly need more tools and more support to do their jobs effectively. That's why we're going to get this done this week.
I probably played that video 5-6 times. We're going to get it done this week. And the text on the video says, "We will build the wall." That video was released in 2017 when Republicans had full unified control of Congress. Did Paul Ryan build the wall? Would we be in the situation that we are today, where there is undoubtedly Hamas and terrorist sleeper cells all throughout America due to our open border? Oh, and we have some very interesting news on that. Oh my, we have some uncovered documents. You know who may be actually funding the open border and profiting massively off of it? It's Joe Biden's personal family. We'll show you the documents in a moment. I mean, I've never seen more brazen criminality in my life. Again, these people deserve to be locked up. They really do. It's not just a campaign slogan. I mean, it's a matter of the rule of law. But I digress. Paul Ryan lied to you. Paul Ryan would rather have Nancy Pelosi as leader of the House, and actually effectively handed the gavel directly to Nancy Pelosi to spite Donald Trump after delivering absolutely zero for Donald Trump. I am sick of the backstabbers. I am sick of the people. Jim Jordan was ushered into Congress on the Tea Party movement, the Tea Party wave. Were you members of the Tea Party? If you remember the Tea Party, shout yourself out. If you remember the Tea Party, you'll remember that we flipped 50 seats for the Tea Party. The inception of the America First movement happened with the Tea Party. This was the first time that populism, which is deeply popular, which is why it's called populism, gained some type of ground, some type of moral, ruling, unified block. And Jim Jordan was part of the founding of the Freedom Caucus, which was to crystallize power for the Tea Party back in the day. Now we would call it America First. But the lineage is direct. A man who was in charge of Congress at the time, who got the gavel because of the Tea Party movement, because of the America First movement, the inception of the America First, this man's name was John Boehner. And we put him in charge to fight Barack Obama. And what did John Boehner do? Well, John Boehner released a video at the end of his tenureship as Speaker showing you exactly what he thinks of Barack Obama. We have it for you.
Listen, can we get together? Now that is a great move. Yeah, it just So, you got any advice for me?
So now you want my advice? First, stop sending me all these LinkedIn requests. And second, here's the beauty of this whole thing. You've got all the time in the world to figure this out. You can just be you for a while.
I wonder if Obama's chef made that popcorn. We'll never know. So we have a situation where we have been led, my entire adult life, we have been led by people who've betrayed us in the House. We hand them power again and again and again. We hand them the gavel, and they lie to us and say they're going to fund the wall when they literally could have funded. I mean, Paul Ryan could have at the. It's difficult to actually explain to you the budgetary process in Washington, D.C., but let me just tell you, this would have been the simplest thing to fund this wall. It would have taken nothing. Literally the flip. I mean, it could have just it's easy as eating a Tic Tac. You just boom, gone, done. It would have been so easy. It is such a simple thing to fund Donald Trump's wall. And Paul Ryan didn't do it out of spite. John Boehner cuts videos with the guy we sent him there to stop. And then who does John Boehner attack? Oh, by the way, while John Boehner was in charge, Hillary Clinton, Benghazi was allowed to happen. More terrorist attacks. More dead Americans. I believe the death toll is up to 20 now, dead Americans via Hamas terrorism in Israel. Sick and evil. So while John Boehner was in charge, Benghazi was allowed to happen. But who does John Boehner call a terrorist? Does he call Hillary Clinton a terrorist for not sending in American reinforcements while our Navy SEALs and ambassadors are getting slaughtered in Libya? Did John Boehner call Barack Obama a terrorist for funding Iran's terrorism, Hezbollah and Hamas? Did John Boehner call, ISIS terrorists? Because John Boehner oversaw the creation of ISIS along with Obama and Hillary. He was part of the political cabal that did nothing as ISIS took over. No. John Boehner reserved the word terrorist for one man. And happened to be a member of his own party. Watch.
You call some of these members political terrorists.
Oh, yeah. Jim Jordan especially. My colleague from Ohio. I just never saw a guy who spent more time tearing things apart and never building anything.
Did it ever occur to you that we want people to tear things apart? Did it ever occur to our ruling class that that is what we desire? That when something is broken and irredeemable, it should be torn down and rebuilt? That's how you when a building is condemned, you scrape it from the earth and start anew? Does that ever occur to you? No.